If you have ever looked up at the night sky, I guarantee you've seen them. That tiny, kind of misty little patch of stars that looks like a miniature dipper. That's the Pleiades, or the Seven Sisters. But this isn't just another pretty star cluster. Nope. It's the anchor of a story that's been told for so long, it might just be the oldest story in all of human history. And that right there, that's the big mystery we're diving into. How is it possible that cultures with absolutely zero contact, we're talking people separated by entire oceans and thousands of years, all looked up at these same few stars and told a nearly identical story about seven sisters being chased across the sky? Well, the answer is this incredible mix of modern astrophysics and our deepest, oldest human origins. Okay, so first things first. Before we can even touch the myth, we need to get the ground truth from science. What are we actually looking at when we see the Pleiades?
So the Pleiades are what astronomers call an open star cluster. Think of it like a young family of super hot, bright blue stars. And while we call them the Seven Sisters, there are actually more than 1,300 confirmed stars in this group. They were all born together from the same cosmic nursery about 100 million years ago. I mean, in galactic terms, they're basically teenagers.
And what's really interesting is that even the science on these stars has been a wild ride. For decades, there was this huge debate about how far away they really are. Back in the 90s, the Hipparcos satellite gave a measurement that was, well, it was a problem. If it was right, it meant our fundamental understanding of how young stars even work was wrong. But then, thankfully, the more recent Gaia missions settled it. They're about 444 light-years away, and our models of stellar physics are safe. Shoot. Now, you've probably seen those breathtaking photos of the Pleiades, all wrapped up in that beautiful blue gas, right? Well, here's a common misconception. For the longest time, everyone thought that was leftover material from when the stars were born. But it turns out it's just a crazy cosmic coincidence. The stars are simply passing through a random cloud of interstellar dust, and the bright blue light is lighting it up, kind of like a car's headlights cutting through fog. Okay, so we know what the stars are. But now let's talk about what they did for our ancestors. Because for most of human history, the Pleiades weren't just something pretty to look at. They were a critical tool for survival.
Just listen to this, from the ancient Greek poet Hesiod, way back around 700 BCE. He wrote that when you see the Pleiades rising just before the sun, it's time to start your harvest. And when they start setting, it's time to plow. They were literally a clock in the heavens, a signal from the cosmos.
And this wasn't just a Greek thing. Oh no, this was global. All over the world, the appearance of the Pleiades marked a critical time of year. For the Maori and New Zealand, it marked the new year, their celebration of Maoriki. For the Xhosa in South Africa, it was the signal to start planting. The Inca even used the clarity of the stars to predict how good the harvest would be. It was, for all intents and purposes, a universal calendar. So the practical side is fascinating. But now we get to the most stunning part of this whole thing, the story. Because the myth that humans told about these stars, well, this is where it gets truly mind-bending. Think about this for a second. An almost identical story of seven sisters being pursued pops up in ancient Greece, in Aboriginal Australian songlines that are tens of thousands of years old, and in Native American legends. These cultures were separated by vast oceans and, in some cases, eons of time. They had no contact. Yet the story is the same. Let's start with the one most of us know. In Greek mythology, the Pleiades are seven divine sisters, and they are relentlessly chased across the sky by the great hunter, Orion. You can literally watch this play out every night. Orion always rises after the Pleiades, and he follows them across the sky, but he never, ever catches them. Okay, now let's jump halfway around the world to Australia. Here, the story is about the Kunkaranga sisters. They're fleeing a sorcerer named Niru, who is associated with the stars in the constellation Orion. Get this, the chase isn't just in the sky. Their oral traditions, their songlines describe the sisters creating hills and rivers on the physical landscape as they fled. It's the exact same celestial chase, but it's also mapped right onto the Earth. And let's do it again, this time in North America. The Kiowa people tell a story about the origin of what's now called Devil's Tower. 7 young girls were being chased by giant bears. In desperation, they prayed to be saved, and a rock shot up from the ground, lifting them into the sky, where they became, you guessed it, the Pleiades. Once again, a group of females escaping a terrifying pursuer by fleeing into the heavens. So, how is this even possible? How do 3 completely separate cultures, with no way to communicate, all tell the exact same story? Well, it brings us to one last amazing question, where the science we talked about earlier loops right back to these ancient myths.
Here's the key. All of these myths talk about 7 sisters. But if you go outside tonight, chances are you'll only be able to see 6 stars with your naked eye. And this isn't a new thing. Even ancient Greek writers were commenting on it. So where is the 7th sister? In fact, many of the myths have their own built-in story about a lost or hiding sister.
And this is where science gives us a jaw-dropping answer. One of the 7 main stars, a star named Pleione, is what's known as a variable shell star. It literally changes in brightness over very long periods. It is entirely plausible that thousands and thousands of years ago, Pleione was bright enough to be easily seen with the naked eye, making 7 stars obvious to our ancestors. The myth of a lost sister might not be a myth at all. It could be a preserved cultural memory of a real astronomical event when that 7th star dimmed.
So it all points to this one incredible theory. The reason the Greek, Aboriginal, and Native American stories are so similar is because they have a common origin. The theory suggests that the story of the 7 sisters and their pursuer is over 100,000 years old, that our ancient ancestors carried it with them as they migrated out of Africa, spreading it across the entire globe. It survived ice ages, the rise and fall of countless civilizations, passed down for millennia before anyone ever wrote a single word of it down. So the next time you're outside and you look up and spot that tiny, shimmering cluster, just remember what you're really seeing. It's not just a collection of young, hot stars. It's a celestial mirror reflecting one of our very first and most enduring stories, a direct link to our shared human ancestry written in the sky maybe 100,000 years ago.